The restaurant was on fire, not literally, but close enough. Flames of chaos erupted in the kitchen as a health inspector stormed out, shouting, "You're finished, Miss Callahan. I'm shutting this place down." Lydia Callahan stood frozen in her flour-stained apron, her dreams collapsing around her like the cracked tiles beneath her feet. She had just 3 days to fix everything, or lose Callahan's Diner, the last piece of her late father's legacy. That's when a stranger appeared at her door. A man with tired eyes, a wrinkled shirt, and a little girl clutching his hand. "Please," he said softly. "I saw your help wanted sign. I can cook." She almost laughed. He looked like he hadn't eaten in days. But something in his tone, quiet, desperate, steady, made her pause. His name was Ethan Miller, and he was about to change everything. But Lydia couldn't have guessed his secret, a secret ingredient that would turn her dying restaurant into a sensation, and expose a truth that would shatter her world. Before we dive in, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles, where true stories of humanity, redemption, and heart come alive every week. Chapter 1, The Last Hope. The bell above the diner door jingled as Lydia handed Ethan an old apron. "I can't pay much," she muttered. "Honestly, I don't even know if we'll be open next week." Ethan just nodded. "A fair chance is all I need." His daughter, Sophie, about 7, sat quietly at a corner booth, coloring on napkins with a broken crayon. She had big hazel eyes and a shy smile, the kind that made even the darkest room feel a bit warmer. Lydia's Diner was once a local gem, her father's pride and joy. But after his passing, things fell apart. The food lacked spark, the bills piled high, and her staff was quitting one by one. The last chef had stormed out that morning after a shouting match over pay. So now, she stood in a greasy kitchen with a man who had no resume, no references, and, from the looks of it, no home. Still, Ethan rolled up his sleeves, washed his hands, and said, "Where do I start?" By lunchtime, Lydia was too tired to care what he was doing back there. But then a smell drifted out from the kitchen, something different. Warm, rich, comforting. She peeked inside. Ethan stood at the stove, humming softly, stirring a pot of soup. Not the thin, salty kind her last chef used to make. This was golden, thick with roasted vegetables and herbs. "What's that?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Just something my mom used to make when things got rough." Lydia frowned but tasted it anyway. One spoonful, and her eyes widened. It was unbelievable. That night, she added Ethan's soup to the menu. By the next day, customers who hadn't set foot in the diner for months started coming back. "Who made this?" one man asked between spoonfuls. "Best thing I've had in years." Ethan just smiled quietly from behind the counter. Days passed, and business began to flicker back to life. Lydia couldn't deny it, Ethan had talent. He worked long hours, never complained, and treated every plate like art. But there was something strange about him, too. He never talked about his past, never stayed after hours, and sometimes, Lydia noticed him stepping outside to make hushed phone calls, looking around like he was being watched. One night, she followed him out back. He was sitting beside a dumpster, splitting a sandwich in half and giving it to Sophie. "Why aren't you eating inside?" Lydia asked softly. Ethan looked up, startled. "Didn't want to bother the customers. Sophie likes the quiet." Lydia noticed then, their car parked behind the alley. The back seat filled with blankets and clothes. "You're living out of your car," she said, realizing it out loud. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "It's temporary. I'll get back on my feet soon." Her heart clenched. She'd been close to rock bottom herself, she knew that look in his eyes. But something about him, about the care he gave every dish, made her wonder if she was missing a bigger story. The next morning, Lydia arrived early and found Ethan already there, simmering a new sauce. "What is that smell?" she asked. "Something I've been working on," he said. "A special blend. It's my secret ingredient." He wouldn't say more. But as he lifted the lid, the aroma filled the room, sweet, smoky, with a hint of something familiar she couldn't place. That weekend, Callahan's diner had its busiest night in years. People lined up outside. A food blogger stopped by, tasted Ethan's signature soup, and posted a glowing review. Within days, the post went viral. "Small-town diner serves miracle soup, you won't believe the secret flavor." Lydia couldn't believe it. The orders poured in. She finally paid off 2 months of overdue bills. For the first time in a long time, hope was back. But that hope wouldn't last. Because 3 days later, a woman walked into the diner, and everything changed. She was tall, sharp-dressed, and angry. "I'm looking for Ethan Miller," she snapped. Lydia stiffened. "Who's asking?" "I'm his former employer," the woman said coldly. "And he's a thief." The room went silent. Ethan stepped out of the kitchen, face pale. "Mrs. Porter, what are you doing here?" She crossed her arms. "You stole my recipes. My spice blend. My business." Lydia's chest tightened. "Ethan?" But before he could speak, Mrs. Porter slammed down a printed article, a photo of a fancy restaurant from the city, featuring the same golden soup now famous at Lydia's diner. "This recipe," she hissed, "belongs to me." Chapter 2, The Secret Ingredient. Lydia's mind spun. Was everything she'd built on a lie? Ethan took a deep breath. "She's not telling the whole truth," he said quietly. Mrs. Porter scoffed. "You're a liar and a failure. You walked out on your job and stole from my kitchen." Ethan looked to Lydia. "I didn't steal anything. The soup, the sauce, those were my mother's recipes. I used to make them for her when she got sick. Mrs. Porter used them without credit, then fired me when I asked for fairness." Mrs. Porter's lip curled. "You can't prove that." But Lydia could see the tremor in his hands, the pain behind his steady eyes. Something in her gut whispered, he's telling the truth. Still, she couldn't ignore the risk. "Ethan," she said, voice trembling, "I need to know, did you take anything from her kitchen?" He shook his head. "Just my dignity." Mrs. Porter laughed bitterly and stormed out. "You'll be hearing from my lawyer." The story spread fast. Rumors flew online, the miracle soup is stolen. Business slowed again. Lydia's phone wouldn't stop ringing, angry customers demanding answers. She wanted to believe Ethan, but doubt gnawed at her. She couldn't lose the diner, not again. Late that night, she walked into the kitchen and found Ethan sitting alone, staring at an old photo in his hand. "Who's that?" she asked softly. "My mom," he said. "She used to say food heals more than hunger. When I worked for Porter, I wanted to bring that feeling back to people. But she wanted fame, not comfort." He wiped his eyes and smiled faintly. "The secret ingredient isn't a spice, Lydia. It's kindness. Cooking like you care. People taste that." Something broke inside her then, the wall of fear, of pride, of mistrust. She whispered, "Then let's prove it." The next morning, Lydia called a local reporter and invited them to film in the kitchen. While cameras rolled, Ethan cooked from scratch, every ingredient laid bare. Fresh vegetables, homemade broth, and that same warm, golden sauce. When asked what made it special, Ethan smiled. "It's not about what's in it. It's about who it's for. Every meal carries a story, and mine's about second chances." The video went viral again, this time, for all the right reasons. People came not just for the soup, but for the story behind it. The broke single dad who cooked from the heart. A week later, Mrs. Porter sent a letter. No lawsuit. Just 2 words scrawled in anger.